During a holiday dinner, I refused to finance my brother-in-law's failing business. He smashed a plate, shouting, "You're killing my dreams." My sister sided with him, calling me selfish. I calmly handed over bankruptcy papers and said, "Your debt is in my name and now, so is your house." This happened at the end of last year, but it's been building up for a long time. This is a long one, but people keep telling me to write it all out. I'm not sure where to start, because it didn't begin on that holiday night. That was just the explosion. I'm 53, single, no kids, living just outside Asheville, North Carolina. I own a small contracting and renovation company. I started it from nothing when I was in my 20s and built it up over time. Now I flip houses, manage a few rentals, and stay busy doing renovations on the side. I've made my money slowly, carefully, with a lot of sweat. I have a younger sister, Caitlin, 48. We were close growing up, but life pulled us in different directions. She always leaned toward the arts, music, design, theater. She's smart, creative, but too trusting and a little impulsive. She married Tony about 12 years ago. He's 51 now. Tony came off as charming when they first got together. Big smile, big plans, always working on some idea that was going to change everything. In the beginning, I tried to support them. They were family. But Tony couldn't hold a job, couldn't finish what he started, and no matter how much help they got, they always seemed to be struggling. In the past 10 years, he started a smoothie stand, a mobile VR arcade, and a custom woodworking business from their garage. Each one failed. Not because the ideas were bad, but because Tony just didn't want to do the actual work. He loved the branding, the pitch, and the early stages. But when things got hard, he flaked. Despite all that, Caitlin stood by him. Every time he failed, she made excuses. He just needs a little more time. He's figuring it out. You don't understand his vision. I stayed quiet most of the time. I didn't agree, but I wasn't trying to start family drama. Over the years, I gave them money. Not just once. Several times. Loans. But I never saw a dime back. First, $5,000 to help after the smoothie shop went under. Then $10,000 when they had their first kid and needed to bridge the gap between jobs. Then another $8,000 when their car died. I kept saying I wouldn't give more, but when Caitlin asked, I gave in. The biggest mistake came about 5 years ago. They were trying to buy a house in Hendersonville, about 40 minutes away from me. Tony's credit was terrible. Caitlin's wasn't much better. But they found a place they loved and needed a co-signer. I co-signed. I know. Stupid. I should have said no. But they begged. They promised they'd make every payment. They just needed help getting through underwriting. "You're not going to be responsible," Tony said. "We just need your name on paper." I believed them. I wanted to help my sister. They got the house. It wasn't fancy, but it was theirs. 3 bedrooms, a big backyard, and a garage that Tony turned into his workshop. I never stepped foot in it. Tony's latest dream was custom furniture. He posted all over social media, handcrafted, tables, made to order, coffee stands, sustainable, shelving. He looked the part in photos. Stained apron with shavings, rustic vibes. He posted a lot. And people believed it. But I knew the truth. He wasn't building most of it. He was buying half-finished items online, staining them, and pretending he built them. His workshop was mostly empty. One of my friends even caught him trying to resell a table from IKEA as handmade. Still, he convinced people to follow the brand. Then, last spring, he started talking about scaling up. Said he wanted to open a small storefront in Asheville and take the brand national. He asked me to invest. Not just a little. He wanted $50,000. I told him I'd need to see a business plan. Real numbers. Sales. Inventory. Overhead. Profit margins. He said, "I'm not a numbers guy. I'm a vision guy." I said, "Then you need to find a numbers guy before you ask for 50 grand. He got defensive. Said I didn't believe in him. That I was holding back family. I didn't argue. I just said I wasn't giving him any money unless I saw something solid. He walked out of my house without saying goodbye. Caitlin texted me later that night, "You don't understand how hard this is for us." That was in June. I didn't hear much from them after that. They stopped inviting me over, stopped replying to my messages. I assumed they were mad, and I let it be. Then came Thanksgiving. I host most years. I have the space, and I like doing it. Caitlin asked if she and Tony could come with the kids. I said yes. I figured we'd just eat, be polite, and avoid talking about money. Dinner was going fine. Everyone was eating, laughing, catching up. Then Tony tapped his wine glass with a fork and stood up like he was giving a toast. Everyone turned. He said something like, "This year, I'm thankful for family, and for second chances, and for people who believe in dreams. I know some of you have doubted me, but tonight, I'm proud to say we're taking the next big step. We've been working on a deal, and my amazing brother-in-law has agreed to invest in our future." He turned to me with a fake smile. Everyone looked at me. I said, "That's not true." The room went dead silent. He said, "Come on, man. Don't be shy. Tell them." I said again, calmly, "That's not happening." He stared at me. His face changed. Then he shouted, loud, "You're killing my dreams," and slammed his hand on the table, knocking over his plate. It hit the floor and shattered. One of the kids started crying. My aunt looked like she was about to faint. Caitlin stood up, red in the face, and said, "Why do you always do this? Why is it so hard for you to help people? You've got money, and you keep it all to yourself like some greedy troll." I didn't yell. I didn't lose it. I just stood up, walked over to the counter, and picked up the folder I had set aside earlier. I handed it to Caitlin and said, "This is everything your husband has taken out in my name." Inside the folder were 6 loan statements totaling over $68,000. Tony had used my personal info to open business credit lines. Because I co-signed on the house and had once helped them with paperwork, he had access to old documents. He used my social security number. He forged my signature. He opened accounts, maxed them out, and ignored the bills. The creditors came after me. That's when I found out. I hired a lawyer, ran a full credit check, and started tracing every account. Tony denied it. Said I must have signed something and forgotten. He tried to gaslight me. Said maybe I'd done it for him and didn't remember. I knew better. So I started buying the debt. Quietly. One by one, I bought each account. Took control of the loans. Transferred them into a holding company I set up under my name. Once I owned the debt, I sued his business. I knew he had no real assets. That was the point. I pushed it to default. Then I filed for seizure of assets, which included the house I co-signed for. They hadn't paid the mortgage in 5 months. I had records of everything. I served them foreclosure papers the week before Thanksgiving, but didn't say anything. Now, with everyone watching, I told them what was happening. "You have 30 days, I said. After that, the house belongs to me. You forged my name. You stole from me. This isn't just about money. It's about trust." Tony tried to speak, but nothing came out. Caitlin looked down at the folder, her hands shaking. Some people at the table were stunned. Others weren't surprised. No one said a word. I looked around the room and said, "I'm sorry this had to happen here. But I didn't make this mess. I just cleaned it up." After that dinner, everything changed. They left in silence. Tony didn't clean up the plate he smashed. Caitlin didn't say goodbye. Their kids followed behind them, confused and quiet. I stood there for a while, still holding the folder, while everyone else slowly got up from the table. A few people helped clean, but the mood was dead. The warmth, the family feeling gone. Later that night, I got a long, nasty text from Caitlin. She said I humiliated them. Said I planned it all to embarrass her in front of the family. Said I ruined Thanksgiving on purpose because I never liked Tony and never wanted her to be happy. I didn't answer. Instead, I sent her lawyer's contact info. The next few weeks were messy. They tried to fight the foreclosure. Hired a cheap attorney, probably the only one who'd take them on short notice. He argued that I had no right to buy the debt quietly and that I had manipulated the system. My lawyer shut it down fast. Every loan Tony took out had paperwork. Every signature was compared and proven fake. I even had a handwriting expert verify it. The judge gave them 45 days to vacate. That was me being generous. I could have asked for 30. That's when things started getting dirty. I started getting strange calls at night. Blocked numbers. Heavy breathing. Sometimes just silence. Other times someone whispering, "You'll regret this." I knew it was Tony. His threats were never direct, always just enough to make me pause. But I wasn't scared. I'd dealt with worse in business. I documented everything, filed a report, and moved on. Then things got worse. One morning, I walked outside and found nails scattered across my driveway. Hundreds of them. I had to replace 2 tires. A week later, someone egged my truck. Twice. Another time, my mailbox was ripped off its post and thrown in the ditch. Still, I didn't respond. I installed cameras. Saved footage. Sent it all to the police. The officers were polite but slow. They said unless I had proof of who did it, there wasn't much they could do. The day they were supposed to move out, I drove by the Hendersonville house. They were still there. Caitlin was on the porch, crying. Boxes were sitting on the lawn. Tony stood in the driveway, smoking, staring at nothing. I didn't stop. I had my property manager handle the inspection after they left. When I finally walked through the house, it was worse than I expected. Trash everywhere. Holes in the walls. One of the toilets was smashed. Every cabinet door in the kitchen was gone. They even took the ceiling fans. The garage, Tony's old workshop, had been stripped. There were deep gouges in the floor, like someone dragged heavy tools across it just to cause damage. In the living room, they left a message. Spray painted on the wall in red, "You win. Hope it was worth it." I didn't feel like I won. I filed an insurance claim. Paid for the cleanup. Brought in one of my teams and started the repairs. It was just another project now. Just another mess to fix. I figured that was the end of it. But then I got a letter. Not from Tony. Not from Caitlin. From my mother. She lives in Florida now, retired. She's in her 70s. We talk once in a while, not as much as we should. She'd heard what happened, but not the full story. Caitlin had already called her. Tony too. In the letter, my mom begged me to reconsider. Said Caitlin was struggling. Said Tony had a good heart and just made mistakes. She didn't mention the forgery. Didn't mention the stolen money. Just asked me to be the bigger person. Families forgive. I didn't respond to her either. I just sat with the letter in my hands and stared at it for a long time. A few days later, I got an email from an old high school friend. Said he saw something weird online and thought I should know. It was a Facebook post from Caitlin. A long rant about family betrayal and toxic siblings. She didn't use my name, but it was obvious. She talked about how her greedy brother took their house, ruined their kids' lives, and destroyed her marriage. Yes, her marriage. Turns out, a week after they moved out, Tony left her. Packed a bag and disappeared. No note. No warning. Just gone. A few people sent me screenshots of his new social media page. He had started a new business in Atlanta. Something to do with crypto and luxury watches. Same smile. Same nonsense. No mention of Caitlin. No photos of the kids. That part hit me harder than anything else. As much as I hated him, I didn't expect him to just abandon his own family. Caitlin didn't deserve that. Neither did the kids. I didn't feel sorry for her. Not yet. But I did feel something. That same week, she showed up at my door. I didn't let her in. She stood on the porch, shivering, holding a folder. I asked what she wanted. She said she needed help. Said she had nowhere to go. She looked tired, pale, smaller than I remembered. I told her I couldn't help her anymore. Not after everything. She said, it wasn't me. I didn't know what Tony was doing. I swear. I asked her, then why did you lie for him? Why did you scream at me that night? Why did you let him use my name, my credit, my life? She didn't answer right away. Then she said, I was scared. And I wanted to believe he'd come through. I didn't want to lose him. I told her I was sorry. Then I closed the door. But she left the folder on my porch. Inside were printouts of bank statements, old emails, messages between her and Tony. It was everything. She had finally gone through it all and put it in one place. Maybe guilt, maybe fear, maybe both. At the bottom was a handwritten note. It just said, "Do whatever you want with this. I'm done protecting him." That's when I found something I hadn't seen before, a document that showed Tony had tried to open a line of credit in my company's name, not just mine personally. If it had gone through, it could have destroyed my entire business. My lawyer hadn't even seen that one yet. I stared at it for a long time, thinking about how close I'd come to losing everything I built. All because I wanted to help family. All because I trusted the wrong people. I still haven't decided what I'm going to do next. There's more. But I'm not sure how much deeper this rabbit hole goes. A week after Caitlin dropped off the folder, I started going through the documents page by page. I was angry again. Not just at Tony, but at myself. I missed a lot of signs. Some of the emails she printed were from years ago. One of them showed Tony telling someone he had, an investor-locked-in old man with a contractor business, won't say no. That was me. He was bragging about how easy it was to play me. Another email hit harder. It was from Caitlin to a friend. She was venting, saying she didn't trust what Tony was doing, but if she stopped him, they'd have nothing. She wrote, "My brother will cover it. He always does." That line stuck with me. She knew. She always knew. 2 days later, my lawyer called. He sounded tense. He said we had a new problem. A bank in Charlotte had just contacted our office. Someone tried to open a business loan under my company's name, again. Different branch. Different bank. Same trick. This time, they asked for more documents. When whoever it was couldn't produce them, they walked. But the application was flagged. The bank ran a check and contacted my registered office. This happened just 3 days before Caitlin showed up on my porch. My stomach sank. I had thought the worst was over. But clearly, someone wasn't done. The application used my company's EIN, address, and license numbers. But it listed a different phone number and email, both unregistered. But what caught my attention was the name listed under Operations Manager, Kyle Thompson. I didn't recognize the name. My lawyer didn't either. So we started digging. It took less than a day to find out Kyle was real. 19 years old. Community college student in Georgia. No criminal record. But he had a public Venmo, and in his transaction history were repeated payments labeled consulting fee from someone using the username BuildDreams2024. It didn't take long to trace that back to Tony. Tony was using fake names and young kids to front applications. He'd moved to Atlanta and started trying to open credit lines using the identities of fake staff and stolen business information. We turned it over to the authorities. I was done playing defense. But it got worse. One of my job sites, an in-progress kitchen remodel, was broken into. Nothing was stolen, but every cabinet was torn off the wall. Paint dumped across the floors. Countertops smashed. It was pure destruction. The police took the report. I sent them the footage from a neighbor's Ring camera. It caught a figure in a hoodie getting out of a gray SUV with no plates. The person had a limp. The same limp Tony had after a motorcycle accident 5 years ago. I sent the video to my lawyer. Then I got a call from Caitlin. She sounded panicked. She said Tony had been going off the rails, that he was angry, paranoid, saying I owed him everything. She said she found a notebook in a box he left behind when he moved out. She read some of it over the phone. It wasn't business plans. It was a list. Of people. Of names. Family members. My lawyer. Even the name of my foreman, James. Beside each name were words like weak point, leverage, how to hit. I didn't want to believe it, but Caitlin swore she'd mail me a copy. When I got it, I couldn't deny what I saw. It was unhinged. Angry rants. Drawings of the house. Of my truck. Of a courtroom. I turned it all over to the police. Now it wasn't just fraud. It was potential criminal intent. I added private security to my property. I told my tenants to report anything strange. I started sleeping with my phone next to me and checked every camera twice a day. Then came another twist I didn't see coming. A man named Lewis called me. Said he'd seen my name listed on a document Tony had sent him. I had no idea who Lewis was. He told me he was approached by Tony through some small business forum. Tony said he was working with a contractor in Asheville on a franchise project and looking for early-stage investors. Tony had shown Lewis a business plan and included my name and business as partners. He even used a fake email chain between us to make it look like I'd approved it all. Lewis didn't fall for it. He did some digging. Found my company's real website. Called me directly. That's when I realized Tony hadn't stopped. He was using my reputation to prop up his fake ventures. And not just to banks, now to private investors. He was trying to sell a lie using my name and company like they were props in a movie he was directing. I called my lawyer and asked what it would take to go criminal instead of civil. He said we had enough. Between the forged documents, stolen identity, business impersonation, and now potential investor fraud, we had a solid case. We filed. Within a week, I got a call from a detective in Atlanta. They had already been tipped off about Tony from another case. He'd allegedly scammed a woman out of thousands pretending to be a startup coach. My evidence gave them more fuel. Tony vanished again. No one's been able to reach him. But here's the twist that knocked the wind out of me. One of Caitlin's kids, her oldest, 13 years old, emailed me. It was short. Just a few lines. Uncle, I know you're mad at Mom and Dad. I get it. But can I still talk to you? You were the only adult that didn't lie. I sat at my desk and read that line 5 times. You were the only adult that didn't lie. I haven't answered yet. I don't even know what to say. But I know this isn't over. Tony's still out there running scams. Caitlin is trying to start over, barely holding it together. And somehow, I've gone from being the quiet contractor in the background to the center of a storm I didn't create, but one I now have to finish. There's more coming. I can feel it. Let me know if I should keep updating this. This story's still unfolding. I didn't sleep much after the email from Caitlin's kid. It broke something in me. I kept thinking about how I'd been pulled into a mess that I didn't start, but maybe let go too far. I thought helping meant handing out money. I thought staying silent kept the peace. I thought looking away meant avoiding conflict. All it really did was feed a lie until it got big enough to try to ruin me. The detective in Atlanta called again. They found Tony. He was arrested in a parking lot behind a strip mall. He was living out of a rental car. Fake IDs in the glove box. Multiple credit cards under different names. A stolen laptop. The car wasn't even his. It had been reported stolen from another state. When they checked the laptop, they found documents tying him to more fraud attempts, including a fake business filing using my company name as a franchise partner. He wasn't just scamming banks anymore. He was trying to build a fake empire on paper, and I was the foundation he was standing on. I flew to Atlanta for the hearing. Tony looked like a shell of himself. Hair grown out, face gaunt, bags under his eyes. He didn't even look at me. He kept looking down at his shoes like a kid waiting to be scolded. The DA asked if I wanted to give a victim statement. I said yes. I stood there in the courtroom and told the judge everything. Not just the crimes. I talked about the nights I couldn't sleep. The fear of losing my company. The family dinners I didn't attend after that holiday night. The mailbox torn out. The vandalized job sites. The broken trust. The line crossed again and again. I ended it by saying, he didn't just steal money. He stole time. He stole peace. He stole the right to be trusted. Tony didn't say a word. He took a plea deal. Fraud, identity theft, and attempted wire fraud. 5 years in federal prison, minimum. No parole. I should have felt better, but I didn't. Not right away. Caitlin moved into a 1-bedroom apartment in Arden with her 2 kids. She picked up a job at a floral shop. She called me once. Just once. She didn't ask for money. She just said, "I'm sorry." I didn't know how far it had gone. I told her, "You knew enough." She agreed. Then she said, "You did what you had to do." I understand that now. We haven't talked since. But I did write back to her son. I told him he could always talk to me, that none of this was his fault, that he could visit anytime he wanted. He came by once. We worked on building a wooden bookshelf in my garage. I let him use the nail gun. He smiled for the first time in a long time. Maybe that's the only good piece left in all this. The house in Hendersonville? I kept it, fixed it up, rented it out to a young couple expecting twins. The workshop Tony ruined? I turned it into storage space. I don't go there often, but when I do, I remember what it cost to finally draw a line. This whole thing taught me that silence isn't peace. That family can love you and still use you. That helping someone who doesn't want to help themselves just makes you their crutch. But the part one hate admitting, I was part of the problem too. I gave too much. I stayed quiet too long. I told myself I was doing the right thing because it felt easier than confrontation. I thought being the strong, quiet one made me the good guy. But all it did was let a liar grow stronger in my shadow. So I ended it. I burned the bridge. I brought the fire. I watched it fall, and I didn't throw water on it this time. Not every story gets justice. But this one did. And I made sure the last person who tried to steal my life now gets to live 5 years locked inside his own lie.